Today we're going to make a video to demonstrate how to use the Hematology Analyzer here at the Veterinary Teaching Hospital of the AFU in Rampur, Chitwan. Now the Hematology Analyzer is used to analyze blood. It does three main things. One, it counts the white blood cells and calculates the proportion of white blood cells of different types. Two, it does the same with the red blood cells, counts them and gives an idea of the proportion. And three, does the same with the platelets. So we use the Hematology Analyzer to analyze, to look at the blood cell components of patients to see if there are any abnormalities. So let's start with how to use the Hematology Analyzer. It's switched on at the mains. So we need to switch the mains on to provide power to the Hematology Analyzer. There is a switch at the back of the Hematology Analyzer that we have to switch on also. While the machine is powering up, I'll talk a little bit more about the machine. We have the main component here, which is warming up. This is the computer. Information is fed into this via the keyboard using the mouse. And the machine itself uses reagents. Now the reagents are stored in these boxes. There are three boxes, two larger ones at the side, one smaller box at the back. The reagent sucks up the reagents through these tubes, and the reagents, after they've been used, goes into this waste container. The machine is starting up, it's doing normal cleaning. It's important that the machine is looked after, cared for. So not only at the beginning process when it's initializing, but when we finish, we'll go over the importance of closing down the machine so that it rinses, so that when it starts off, it gives an accurate reading. On top of the machine, always should sit this set of instructions. The set of instructions are here for people to help remind them how to use the machine. On the back is a photograph of the machine giving the different parts. So this is the screen which gives you the results. The manual always sits on top of the machine. Round the side of the machine, there's the probe cleaner is kept in this solution here. So it's always put back here so that it doesn't get lost. That's the probe cleaner. The report comes out here printed in thermal paper. You can either print off the results or you can take a photograph of the screen on your smartphone. This is where a probe comes down. The probe, you'll see the probe, it's a long, thin, narrow tube. It comes down into the sample tube, takes a pre-measured amount of the volume of the blood up into the machine for an analysis after you press this large dark grey button at the back. So this is like click to start. Okay, so now the machine has initialized and we see on the screen white blood cells, red blood cells, platelets. What we need to do now is, following the instructions that are on here, we have to enter in the animal details. So we go to the top, in the center, click animal, and the sample that we have is a bovine. So we come down here to cow, we select cow, and we come down, further down to confirm and select confirm. So now that we have, it's a cow. The information, we click information because we want to identify the sample. So the name of the animal is Kali, K-A-L-I, and it's Kali 1. The age is 7 years. We type in 7, it's already given us the years. The gender is female. These really are the only items of information you need to enter. You can do a remark here. You can make a remark here because this is part of a series of blood samples. Click confirm. Now, this part is important. We've entered now the patient details and we have the sample here. This is an EDTA sample to prevent it clotting. It's important to gently rock the sample. Why? If the sample has been sitting like this for a while, the blood cells will have gradually fallen down to the bottom. So if you don't gently rock, you get a false reading. If you shake vigorously, you will break up some of the cells and therefore you don't get an accurate reading. So only gentle rocking is required to mix the sample. Remove the top of the tube and we press. We can see now that the probe came down automatically, ready for the sample. So we've gently shaken the sample, we put the sample tube up round the probe and we press the large grey button at the back and automatically the machine takes up a pre-measured volume of blood and automatically it starts the analysis process. And you can hear liquid coming out of these reagents and going into the waste container as well. It starts off by doing the white blood cells and it gives you a progress report. Then it goes on to the red blood cells and then it goes on to the platelets. It gives the results printed out in numerical form on top and depicted in a graph form at the bottom. The graph form should all be within the normal range. It's a Gaussian graph, a bell curve. But guidelines and interpretation of the analyzer results are contained both here in the printout, which is kept above the machine. It is also available under the e-learning section of the AFU website. So we let this run. Okay, let's now watch the same process again with a student analysing an EDTA blood sample. So first he goes to the top of the screen using the mouse to direct the arrow towards animal, where he enters in the species, a cow. Then he confirms the cow, goes back up with the cursor to the top of the screen and clicks on info, and then he can enter in the identity, the age and the gender of the animal. Now you can see here that the probe is down in the machine, it's exposed. It's important that this retracts before we finish using the Hematology Analyser, and we'll go over that later, making sure that the probe disappears before turning down. Now the sample is being rocked gently, only rocking gently, not shaking. The cap is removed and then the tube with the EDTA blood is inserted in below the probe, and the button, the large grey button behind the probe is pushed and automatically the analysis begins and the probe retracts. And now the results have come through. So you can see there are graphs on the white blood cells, red blood cells, the platelets, and printed out. You can now take a photograph on your smartphone of the results, or request a printout here. If there's no paper left, then you have to take a photograph. So use the mouse to go up onto the top here, onto the print, press the print, and it'll print out the results. When you remove this printer, it's important to do it at an angle, starting at one corner, or else it can get caught. So you will now have this, but this is thermal paper, so it will fade. So this will not last a long time. So if you want a permanent record, either take a copy from this or you have the one in the camera. Okay, so now we have finished with the blood samples. So we can either do 1 or 2 or 3 or 4, a series of samples. We don't switch off each time, we only switch off at the end of the samples. So now this is an important part, because switch off means that the machine will clean itself and be ready for start the next time with accurate results. Okay, now this part is important because this is the shutdown process, and it is important because at this stage the sample probe is still down and exposed. If we switch off at the mains, close off at the mains, it means the sample probe is still here and can be damaged. So we need to follow the shutdown process properly. To do that, we use the mouse and the arrow. We go up to function and we click here on function, and then on the other side of the screen we see shutdown. We click on shutdown. Shutdown now, yes, confirm we want to do this. And it tells us what to do. We have to take the probe cleaner from the side of the machine that we saw. We have to insert it in here like we did with the blood sample and push the large grey button at the back. The machine takes up sufficient probe cleaner to clean itself. The probe itself disappears, so it's now protected, and the shutdown process begins. Remember to replace the probe cleaner once you're finished with it back at its position on the side of the machine. Now we can turn off the power at the back of the machine. We turn off the power switch. Then we go to the mains, turn off the mains. Turn it off.